Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Moving to Florida show. I am your host, Judson, joined with my co-host, Mohit Badlani, and we have a great guest today. Mrs. Carol McManus is a veteran teacher. She's been teaching on the East Coast of Central Florida since 1986. She also mentioned she likes to invest in real estate in her free time. And today she's bringing the voice of an educator to discuss the Florida education experience. We'll get into this a bit later, I'm sure, but she also said she's lived in Florida since 1969 and was Florida educated from elementary school to college. And I know you guys connected before I was able to hop on, Carol, and you and Mo are both from Chicago, so we got something in common there.
There we go. Yeah, we were from Chicagoland area. Yep. Well, she was only there for a short time. I grew up there in the 90s.
We left in 69, so a little different educational experience potentially. So
So at the age of 9, how was that move for you when you moved down here? So you did mention it before, like it was like a little bit of a culture shock, wasn't it?
Oh, it was a lot of a culture shock. It was huge because I was coming from this traditional school in Chicago, very old neighborhood, and girls' entrance, boys' entrance, girls' playground, boys' playground, and no one stayed for lunch. Everyone went home because that's the neighborhood, right? So then we come to Florida, and we move Labor Day weekend, which my parents were all thinking, when does school start? Everywhere on the planet. Day after Labor Day.
Right after Labor Day.
We come to Florida, and my mom takes her 4 children, and she takes me first. And at my elementary school, and we came from a grammar school, which is a K-8. So she's finding out I'm going to a K-5. My siblings are going to a middle school, which we did not, what do you mean middle school? Like, this is crazy. So she has to take me, and she's thinking I'm going to come home for lunch because we didn't live that far. And then she's told, no, she'll eat in the cafeteria. My mom, and I go to school, not in the school proper because it's, Florida school starts booming. And my classroom is a portable. I've only ever been in a solid school building, and then I'm in this portable, in Florida. My mom has to go quickly and, bring my lunch to me. You know what I mean? I've never eaten in a school cafeteria ever in my whole life. I went home. Then my poor siblings go to the middle school, and it is Florida, and Florida was like an educational petri dish at this time. And my poor siblings are coming from this traditional, and they go to what's called an open concept, if we are familiar. Open concept of learning. No walls.
No, not familiar at all.
Go into a Costco or a Walmart or a Sam's and imagine it's a school.
Wow.
And they only
quite literally open concept.
Literally, there are no walls. So you walked into that school. My siblings and my mother, said the noise just, whoosh, it's never quiet. And so you have these sections where banks of lockers will separate, but then within there is a quadrant of four sectioned off classes. Only 2 of the classes have access to a wall, and then the other 2 classes use mobile chalkboards. That's the only thing. My siblings, my mother, they were just completely blown away. And it was, but when I went to that middle school, and they were very experimental. So I don't know if you're familiar with the song, The Age of Aquarius.
Yes.
Okay, that is what started my school day and my siblings' school days for all my years there. They played that music because it was supposed to get us in the mood. And I just remember thinking, this place is crazy. It was so loud. But that's, who would have expected that? And that's what we had. And we made it. We muddled through. And now I hear from that school in Lauderhill, Florida, it is, they have walls. They have classrooms. Because
they finally came in and out of the walls.
That little experiment did not work educationally, and so they fixed that structure. But that was, yes, a shocking occurrence for my family. I'm not going to lie about that. But we adapted. You adapt.
Yeah, you gotta go with the flow at that time, right?
Yeah, what am I going to do? This is the school I'm going to. My siblings.
You have to.
Exactly. So we adapted, we adjusted. It was a very big adjustment for us. And so anybody moving to Florida, I don't know that there's any more open concept happening. I think that died out by the mid 70s. But in Florida, there was a very distinct experimental phase in education where that was being done, and it was allowed to be done, by the experts. I'm sure the teachers had no say in it. I'm not being mean, but I'm certain they didn't ask a teacher their opinion about how this would work. But anyhow.
Well, I'm quite sure that the open concepts are gone, but the portables are definitely not gone. Those are still very much a thing here in Florida.
They have to be, because they built the schools like, okay, my little school that I work at, it was built probably 30, 40 years ago in a nice little area. But, they built it for maybe 300 kids. And now, we're bumping up at 600. So you have to have a place. So we have portables. We have a whole now wing where it's a wing of portables. They've built, the sidewalks are there. It's covered. They can get there without, getting wet when it's raining and whatever. But you have to have them here because the population growth is so
fast.
Is so quick. And you have and people come here and they want to put their kids in school. And the way you get them in, you either have, like last year I had 21 first graders, which is a lot. And our kindergartens were at 25, 26. And our older grades were up there. So when you either jam them all in this one room, or guess what? The best thing is you get a secure portable, and then you can break those class sizes down, which is, a big thing. So once again, when you're moving to this area, do you want your 6-year-old in a room of over 20, or your kindergartner in with 25 other kids?
Yeah, so they have to break those out to do the class sizes. I know in Winter Garden, in our previous home, the one that we moved into when we moved to Florida, we had an elementary school behind us, and there were portables over there. And, I got to talking to some neighbors who had been there since the community was new, and they said, they built that school, and before the school was completed, as soon as it was completed, they were bringing in portables because the population was growing so fast that they were already at capacity before the school even opened.
Oh, yeah, exactly. They were. And then that's the new school. So everybody, where do you want to send your child?
Yeah, to the new school. Yeah.
That's where you want to go. You want to go to the new school. You want to be in the Jewel, right? You want to be at that. Like my school is, an older school. It has a lot of character. But, no one is necessarily clamoring to get in there. And it's, like I said, it's a Title I school. And the people who live there now, they've sent their children to this school. But guess what? They still live there, and the children have gone. So again, going back to that whole real estate aspect, luckily this little community has a water area. It's on a pretty little, river, and it holds value. But the school here in Florida, people may not, I don't know how anything is done in any other place, but here, there's school grades, and the school grade can determine the value. And in fact, increase your value. Let's face it. Here in the East Coast of Central Florida, you are on the beach side. Those schools historically, they perform well. Those values always stay high, and they're maintained. But you go into like my little area, which is more west, and the values fluctuate a little bit more. And then the school grade, when the school grade is a factor, if you're looking into where am I going to place my school or my child in school, here's the C school, and I can afford this, but then I can spend more. I can get into an A school where maybe, there's a little more different programming and more of a homogeneous grouping, right? And has a more affluent student coming in, and that's going to make a huge difference. That's your property.
Yeah, it's going to make a huge difference in property values. Resale of homes is what you're saying.
Yes. So, and you can, I know that if you can move into an area, and I just read about this the other day, with a school like mine, like a C school, and you can move into there, and your values will stay. They'll stay nice. They'll stay okay. But you move into an area with a struggling secondary school, and your values will reflect that, and they have a greater impact. A struggling secondary, middle, or high school will undermine your value more than a struggling elementary school. So those are factors. I think if you're moving to Florida, you want to make sure you're looking at, okay, what's the community around here? Where my children go to school? And you can go to a Midland elementary, and if you save money by buying in that area, you get a lot of bang for your buck there. Maybe you can afford a private situation, or maybe you can afford a tutor, or you might be able to have a few more options there. But it seems like that secondary that's not doing well, that's really going to impact people when they go to resell the house, because everybody wants to know, okay, how is this an A school, B school, what's going on here?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So we mentioned you're on the east coast of Central Florida. Have you always been in this area?
Well, yeah. When we moved in '69, we lived more in the Fort Lauderdale area, but once again, we were west. We were in a very working class. It probably would have been a Title I school, if there had been such a thing. And then I moved up here to go to UCF and work on my master's a little bit. But I've always taught. When I taught even in South Florida, and I taught at a private school on the beach in South Florida, and that's a very different, that's a very nice environment. And then I came up here, and I have not ever taught at a school on the beach side. I've been a little more west. I've been a little more in with working class and Title I, and so that you can see the changes in the neighborhood. You see the kind of houses that are at a Title I school, a lower income school, and it's going to, again, affect your values. But you could be in a nice, like my neighborhood that my school's in. They're nice houses. They're just older, and the young people are moving out, and the parents are staying, and and the school is bringing more children in from farther away. That's what happens.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So I know here in the Orlando area, today was the first day of school. Was it first day for you guys as well?
Oh, yeah. And it was fantastic. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned to us that before the first day, you like to call all of the parents. So how did that go? Did you have a bunch of people that are new to Florida?
The people, let's see, and actually I have on my class, the class that I have now, I have 16 children, and I got to meet 14 of the families yesterday because I called them in the morning. We've been in a lot of trainings. They should really not call us teachers. They should call us meeters, because we go to a lot of meetings before school starts. Yeah. I know people think, oh, you have that week before school. We are in meetings all the time. And then they throw another meeting at us. And so our time in our classroom is really like, I went in the week before just so that I could unpack my room, because I knew the second the pre-planning starts, it's all meetings, and you have to go. That's part of your obligation, right? And the administration has got to impart what they have to impart to us. So yeah, but I'm pretty quick on the dime, and I called a bunch of my families yesterday morning, and they showed up between 11 and 1, and I got to meet 14 of them. But probably out of that 14, I would probably say 7 or 8 are new to the area, and some are from Florida, and then some are coming from the Northeast, or just maybe Georgia, that area. So I have children who are not familiar with the Florida school system, and they're in my school.
Yeah. So
that's like about half of them.
Yes.
Almost half. Yeah.
Last year I had a lot of children who were returning to the school. This year, I only have 4 children who went to kindergarten at my school. So out of my children, most of them are new to this school, which is nice,
We'll be back after a quick break.
To some extent, we're all still trying to figure out what we want to be when we grow up. In fact, it was from that struggle that I started my podcast, Career Sweet Spot. I'm Steve Perkins. I'm the founder of Greenhouse Coaching, and together with my team, we explore everything about this topic on our podcast, Career Sweet Spot. We share ideas, practical steps, and insights we've gathered from coaching thousands of individuals and companies. On Career Sweet Spot, we like to joke and have fun while also tackling the biggest topics intentional people are thinking about in their work, their leadership, and their life. So why don't you press pause and hit subscribe to Career Sweet Spot, a podcast all about life and career growth.
Yeah. Well, when you mentioned the, Florida school experience, Florida education experience, and I know certainly that's, what you're here to speak to us about, what you're an expert on, but what are some things that are maybe different about the way things are done here in Florida versus other areas that our listeners may be listening from?
Well, we have if you're coming, and I'm just going to pull this out of the hat, like somebody like me from Chicago, or if like you're from Iowa, or from a very more of a homogeneous grouping and not as a diverse population, you have people from all over here in Florida, and that's everywhere in Florida. That's not just localized. But I know when I went to elementary school here, and I was used to in Chicago a very much it was an Eastern and Central European neighborhood, and that's who I went to school with. I mean, these are people my grandpa knew, and my mother knew, and this was an old neighborhood. Coming to Florida, everybody was from somewhere else. They were just, and that's Florida schools. I think when people come from other places, they have to realize, well, everybody from here is from somewhere else. It's a rarity when you meet someone born in Florida, especially in my age group. Like my kids, it's normal. They were born here. But I think people have to realize that we get so many different people, and we get so many different cultures, that it plays into your classroom, and it can make it a very rich classroom experience. Today I had a child not listening to me, and so I started speaking Spanish to him, because I thought, okay, you're not getting the English, so let me just flip into something else. And the Spanish speakers in my room were laughing, and they were going, oh, they knew what I was saying, and I was saying, am I saying this correctly? And they're like, oh, yes. And the little boy's looking at me, and I said, you don't want to listen to me in English. I'm cool with that. I can flip into Spanish, and I can speak a little French, and I know some German.
Right.
So let's bring the heat on, buddy. And, but that's the diversity that you get in a classroom in Florida. And it doesn't matter if it's here. And then you can only imagine, okay, in a larger population like Miami, like Orlando, Jacksonville, these major centers that have these huge populations where you have everything coming in.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking even about the Haitian, Cuban, Caribbean. I'm just talking about people moving from other places.
Yeah.
But I worked at a school previously that had a huge Haitian population. And so you get familiar, if you want to be effective with these children, you better get familiar with culture and climate and how to speak to them. And just like the Spanish helped me when I was taught junior high, and the French helped me with the children that were Haitian. And then you connect, it's all the connection with the families. When I can speak to a family and they know I understand, because, dealing with immigrant populations, and you have to be responsive to that. And that's, if that's your population. And I know I come from, my grandpa and my grandma both, one spoke Polish, one spoke Slovak. I come from a background where there was a multilingual thing going on. I respect anyone who can, come here and learn this language and send their children to school. And those children are multilingual. Those children know, like those Spanish speakers in my room, all of a sudden they connect. They know, hey, she's pretty good at this. And you connect, and they know that. And that's important. But I think that's what people coming from a more homogeneous place, you're not getting that here. You are getting a melting pot. You are getting everything. And it makes, I think, for a very rich environment and a very exciting environment.
Absolutely. That's one of the things we love about Florida.
Yeah.
The big melting pot down here, for sure.
You're never bored. Well, like you're from Chicago, and where are you from originally?
I'm from Louisiana originally, so a little more homogenous, but we get a little bit of French there too.
You got that Cajun, you got that Creole thing going on. You know what I mean? Everybody has their history. Mine just happens to be rooted in, where I'm at, but everybody has that. But that's what makes Chicago's a great place, because of its diversity. Louisiana has that diversity. Here we have a huge amount. So coming to Florida, if you're new here, you have to embrace that. And we are not going to do this like you did in wherever. And, and that's, you're here because you didn't want to do that anymore. So, but it makes, because we'll get an influx. Like we started school today, and you mark my words, at Labor Day, we see a little uptick in our student enrollment, because people from places that start the day after Labor Day still come here thinking,
Thinking that's when school starts.
School's going to start after Labor Day.
It's so funny to me, but we always see an uptick in enrollment, the day after Labor Day. And then again, the parent, and I understand those parents. I feel for them. I realize I know what it's like on a student level. I heard what my parents said. So come to Florida and expect just not the same environment. You're just not going to have that. It's going to be fun though. It's going to be exciting.
So you mentioned that you got into real estate or real estate investing because your family was in it before too. Yeah. So
well,
what got you interested?
My husband's family is very involved in real estate and very knowledgeable. And if you're doing any type of real estate, you want them at the table with you. My family, not my family, but my husband's family, extremely diverse, very well-rounded, very knowledgeable. And I always had an interest, but my family didn't lend itself to that discussion. Where his family really, you could talk about that. I learned a tremendous amount, and we've been able to explore those avenues, and we've been fortunate in that we've been able to invest in property, and I know when we first moved to where we are now, the school feeder chain was not. I wanted this other feeder chain, but we happened to move to a place that was a very different feeder chain for me. And as a teacher in this area, I'm like, but this is where we build. Right. And my kids ended up going to schools that I never had considered for them. But you know what? They had a great experience, and they are extremely intelligent people. And now I'm grateful that we had that, because they had a really good experience educationally. And with me, one click away, one email away, I would tell their teachers, I'm one click. I work at this school. Just put my name in and you will be able to email me,
Yeah, send me a ping. I know how to answer.
Yeah, we'll deal with this at home. Yeah. Not a problem.
Cool. Good stuff. So, going back into your real estate background too, you said your husband's family was involved in it. What got you interested in it? Was it just being around the environment, or just...
when I came up here, like I was, living in one area, and I had been considering, just for a fleeting moment, like, oh, what if I could afford this? But, I came up here to work on my master's. But then I met him, and sitting around their table, just talking about, and their depth of knowledge about, flipping properties and just building things, and it's just a tremendous amount. And then their investment value alone. And it was just a really interesting environment. And then, of course, my husband, that's what he was raised with. So, of course, it's going to lend itself. And we got into that when we got married the next summer. We bought a property and we fixed it up and rented it out. And then we got another one. I mean, it just was and it was great because I can do really simple tasking, I can paint and I can help take stuff down and I can haul things away. And my husband was really plugged into the trades, and, that's what you need. You need somebody who's going to be the worker. You need somebody who's got the brains to do it and the ability. And his family was great because they were offering just a huge amount of their expertise, and what they had done. Yeah. And luckily for me, though, my dad, he added an addition onto our house, and I helped, with that as much as I could, at my age. And then I would help him with tasks, just like pulling up tile or, carpet or whatever. I mean, I came into my marriage knowing, okay, I know how to do this stuff. I know what it's like to lay tile. I know what it's like to have to get a carpet up or repaint or, whatever. So that was a good skill. And I like that. I like doing those kind of things, and it's really nice to look at the finished product.
Yeah. It's that satisfaction feeling when you're done with it. Yeah. I love that feeling.
And I know that everybody watches those shows, but it
doesn't take 20 minutes to put a wall up.
Something always goes wrong. It always takes 3 times as long. A pipe is going to burst, or someone's going to get electrocuted. You know what I mean? I mean, these are the things that happen, and that's just it. Or like one time when we were doing this house, and we had stripped the roof off completely, and hoping, okay, it's not going to rain. It's not going to rain. Well, this is Florida in the summer.
It's going to rain.
The heavens opened and we went and I didn't realize the extent of the disaster. And we go there and my husband takes a broom handle and he just starts poking it in the ceiling because the rain is gathering, and the look on his face, and I'm just like, I don't understand. And he goes, there's nothing, we stripped it down, Carol. And then I realized, oh my God, and then you got to let it dry. You know what I mean? And that's what happens. They never show that on the home improvement shows. They never do. You will never see that. But
Yep,
hey,
absolutely.
it was a great little property and, we benefited from it. And that's what you got to look at,
We'll be back after a quick break.
Have you ever felt overwhelmed trying to come up with another content idea? Maybe you have like 2 really good ideas that you're excited about, and then it's crickets. Hi, I'm Crystal Profit, host of the Profit Podcast, where we help you create content with confidence. Whether it's a podcast, a YouTube channel, or a repurposing strategy to make your life easier, we help you create content that you are proud to put out into the world. So make sure that you listen to the Profit Podcast wherever you get your podcast.
Yep. There's always going to be something crazy like that happen. It's just inevitable.
Exactly. And like, I know we're supposed to be talking about schools and investing, but I mean, property is property, and like I would not, if that particular property we just strictly did as something that we were going to work on. We turned it into a very, successful little rental. But I don't know what school they fed into, that wasn't on my radar at the time. But I know as we have grown and I have gotten more involved and as I teach, I mean, you always know that school part is important to your value part. And you always, as you're moving, and again, you're moving to Florida, take a look at where you're moving, what the school is. And like I said, you can go into a middle and elementary and you might get a house that you really like that's maybe a little, that's more affordable and bigger than you think. You can overcome that. But you really got to know your secondary schools because that's what's going to hit you. If you're going to a struggling secondary area, you might want to think twice. And then if you can afford it, go to the beach side.
And I think you mentioned this before, but when you say secondary, you mean the middle and the high school?
The middle high school, high school area.
Okay. So I know we certainly have our sites that as real estate agents we direct people to find out where their school is. I mean, we certainly try to tell them, but is there any resource that you would recommend people look to try to find out that information?
I think if you look, go on the school website. Now that we're past the pandemic phase, I know up in this year they're allowing parents to come back onto our campuses. I would say go, visit the school. But now we've got a, heightened security. So you really, if you can, even just go by the school, see what's going on there. But get on just places where, go on the school site, take a look at what the district is doing, get on their website. And then I know there's like Good Schools, I believe. That's a place you can go and look. There's a couple of websites you can go on to, but you have to take that with a grain of salt because, not everybody has a great experience. And then who's writing the reviews? Maybe somebody who, blah, blah, that teacher, my kid.
People tend to put negative stuff on Google anyways if they're reviewing anything.
Exactly.
So,
they won't put the good stuff for the most part.
And I would, if you could anyway, talk to somebody or find out about like the parent group at the school and see if they can plug you into that person. And then you can talk to somebody who's boots on the ground and maybe you can get involved in that. But that's if you have the time, if you have the resources and you have the ability to do that. That sometimes is a high class, area. And if you got to go to work, you may not be able to do that if you're working. that would be
to visit
tough
the
thing.
school would be tough.
Yeah.
Well, I know to locate your school, typically what I would recommend to people is, in Florida here, they're done by the county typically. So, Orange County schools, Lake County schools.
Right.
If the website, might be tough to find, but just throw that into Google. If you're moving to Orange County schools, you'll find the proper website.
Exactly.
And they have a plethora of tools where you can put in the address or you can look at zoning maps. There's all kinds of stuff there so you can figure out your school zone. And then once you figure out your school zone, go to the sites that Carol mentioned, or just throw that school's name into Google. You're sure to find some information on, how it actually ranks.
Right. And
Especially when we're out.
I'm a huge advocate for public school, but I also know here in Florida, we have got a lot of charter schools. And we have a lot of choice schools and magnet schools. We've got a really diverse educational opportunity, but then it behooves you as a parent. It's that whole caveat emptor thing. You have to beware. You can say, this is going to be better than public. A public school will afford you every single resource you need. And I think people forget that. They get upset about something and they get angry and they say, I'm going to take my kid out of this school and we're going to go here. Well, guess what? If that child needs OT, speech, PT, they have a special need, they have something, they're only going to get that at a full service public school. But you do have the option. You have a charter, you have private, you have magnet schools and choice schools. But yes, look into every single one of them. And there's my dogs.
No problem.
No worries.
Just learn as much as you can. And then drive around the neighborhood if you can, if you have the opportunity. Just drive around, take a look at it, and see what's going on.
Well,
Another thing I was going to mention is that on the MLS, when we as realtors put in all the information, and we also put in the schools, the elementary, middle, and high school in there. I always tell my clients, do your due diligence, look up those schools. I know you love the home, but look up the schools and see if it's right for you.
Right.
If it's right for you and your child.
Yeah, and if your kid's going to that school.
And verify that information is correct, because that is a realtor that put that in, and it is not always correct.
Right, but most schools, they have a Facebook page. They've got their own web page. You can put a school in, and you'll go to their page. Go to that district site. That's great, because then you can see what the district is doing. If you really want to drill down, you're looking at school board meeting minutes. You're looking at what's going on here, and you are becoming informed, and that's the critical part, because it's a decision. Because what if your kids may love the school, but then you as a parent might be like, I don't know, I heard about this, I heard about that, and you yank them out, and again, it's like, it's very difficult.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You mentioned grading schools. Like schools are graded here with A through F or whatever. How do you think they determine that grade?
We don't know. I'm not being mean here. They change it all the time. Like we're shifting now from one assessment piece. Now we're going to another one. And we only had this previous assessment piece. I don't mean to laugh. We've had this one that we've been using. It hasn't been that long in effect. So now we're in what's called the progress monitoring, where we're learning. It's like we're building the plane, as it's flying. Yeah. So you're asking the wrong person. I'm a teacher. Trust me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's what I think. What do you think? I know you won't know about, because none of the teachers could tell me.
Yeah. Well, Carol,
right, exactly. I'm just laughing about it, maybe because it's 34 years later and anymore, whatever. I go into school. I just want to do a good job. I just want to make those little kids in front of me. And I told them that today. We come to school. This is a school. I'm a teacher. Our business is education, and you're my customer. So, I say, bring $1. You know what I mean? That's what you're buying. I'm selling smart. You're buying it. And I've had kids, and this is funny. I've only taught first grade for like 3 years, but I had little kids. I gave that little litany, and I had these kids coming in with $1 the next day. I'm buying it, Miss McManus, and I'm like, okay. Awesome. I kept that $1. I kept all those dollars, and at the end of the school year, I gave them back, and I said, "You did a good job. I'm gonna give you this money, and I want you to keep using this $1 to keep." Getting smarter. Use this money. You got to buy what I'm selling. I'm selling education. Okay. And that's, But do I know what the testing is about? I have no idea. And especially this year, we all are like, okay, we're waiting to see what the state says, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. So who determines the grade? Maybe that's the better question. Not how
The
to
state.
It is the state. Okay.
We do the testing. We send the scores. They come back. Like we got them in, I guess it was June, end of June-ish, and my school got a C, and we had been, not a C before then. And we worked really hard, and we climbed that mountain, right? We were climbing that hill, and we are a C this year. And you want to talk about a really more relaxed atmosphere, because we went into school last year, post-pandemic, and not having a great school grade, and so the pressure was on, because you got to pull that up. You want to get to that C. So this year, hey, we're shooting for a B or an A, man. Right. But how they figure it, we don't know, because it's a new assessment piece.
Yeah,
we have no idea.
Well, Carol, you've been a great guest. We are over our 30 minutes now. Do you have a few more minutes? I have a couple more questions if you have a few more minutes.
Go right ahead.
One thing, I'm just thinking that maybe some of our listeners are like me. I have a 3.5-year-old. We still got a little time before he enters school, but I really know nothing. And I've just kind of hit that stage where we go, we got to start paying attention to this stuff.
Yes, you do. Is it a girl or a boy?
Boy.
Are you thinking about a VPK?
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Okey
Absolutely.
dokey.
So I would like for you to tell us a bit about VPK for starters, and then also what the difference between like a magnet and a charter school and these different types of schools that you've mentioned.
Okay. Well, first things first, because you have a 3.5-year-old. And I taught Head Start. I taught VBK for a few years, and then they flipped us into Head Start, which is a little different. A Head Start is going to serve a more economically distressed area. A VPK, which is available, is a voluntary pre-kindergarten. So you choose to go there. It's not a mandate, but it should be a very high quality education, and there should be a lot of materials available to the children. They should not necessarily have to share anything. They should have their own materials. So you're looking for that high quality, and you're looking for someone who, like me, I have a very rich background in early childhood education. So you want somebody like that. You want somebody, and even though I've taught from 3 to high school, and I was thinking, okay, I kept going down the food chain. I went from secondary to elementary PE, and then I went into early childhood, and I'm like, well, I'll just wait till they're in the hospital having the babies, and just hand them to me, and I'm going to be cool with that.
I'll take care of it.
I will, and I will love doing it, because that is really those first 3 years, and I'm certain you're affording your child at home, a lot of print material, a lot of hands-on tactile, a lot of painting and Play-Doh, and you want scissors, you want it. And if you're going to a VPK, you really want to know that they are going to be spending a lot of time doing that. You don't want your child being relegated to skills that are not appropriate. You want them using scissors. You want them using Play-Doh. You want them painting. You don't want them with a pencil, because that's, in my opinion, and then there's a consensus in early childhood. That's not appropriate. They should not be necessarily writing. They want to scribble and scrawl, whatever, but you shouldn't be, okay, this is what A looks like. But you want to expose them to those really nice manipulative, and you want to do the fine motor skills. You want to do gross motor skills so they get their spatial. So you're looking, like when I did VPK and Head Start, we had these bicycles, and trust me, they were coming out 3 days a week, and they loved them. And we would off-road, I had a grassy area. Those kids loved it. You need somebody, quite frankly, who's going to be energetic and be good with that. And in my program, no videos, there was nothing on a screen. So you were always interacting with those children. So to look for a high quality VPK. If you are in a lower economic section, though, I taught Head Start. Head Start is an excellent, high-quality program. You have devoted, dedicated teachers. I did this all through my district public school system. So there is a Head Start that can be standalone, but in my county, Head Start goes through the schools. So you are a school board teacher. You are certified. There's not a teacher at a Title I school that does not have their credential. So in order to teach early childhood, you have got to have your certificate in early childhood education. and anyone in a Title I school. In VPK, if you're doing a public school VPK, I would ask, are you certified in this? What's your background in this? How long have you been working with little kids, and what do you do? And you really want to hear about a lot of motor and a lot of conversation. You want them chatting, you want them singing, you want your kid coming home singing all kinds of songs that they learned, because that's really good for the verbal. That's really good for expressive language.
Very good. And VPK in Florida is free, is that right?
Oh, yes, it's free.
Yeah.
Now, VPK is not, it all depends on where you're living. You got to check and see, because sometimes they'll only have 1, maybe 2 VPK classes. So sometimes there's waiting lists, and you just have to see where, because you can get VPK at a good childcare facility, and it will, it'll just be part of the day. If you're looking for a full day, then you look in your public schools and see who has VPK, and you get on that waiting list if you can't get in. And if your son is going next year.
Yes.
Okay. I would say, in the new year, in January-ish, you start feeling it out and seeing, okay, if this is a really good VPK, it's going to get filled up. And they should be limiting the class size to no more than, 18 or 20. And there should be more than, there should be like, 2 or 3 adults in the room. VPK is very much where there's a lot of hands on deck there. Like, I'm by myself, in that first grade room, with those kids. But they can tie their shoes and go to the bathroom, right? VPK, you got to have other hands there, because these things have to be addressed. Yeah. So you want your child in that nice structure, and you want those people that are doing a lot of creative, verbal, musical, motor. That's what you're looking for. And
motor skills,
that's what I think.
Yeah, and both my girls went to VPK in Celebration.
Oh, okay.
So it was not in the public school, but it was in their private school that they had the VPK in, and we just went to the county, and they gave us like a tax credit for it, so the school can get that tax credit.
Yeah,
so
a voucher.
They would give us a discount. Yeah, a voucher. They would give us a discount on their daycare program and the VPK program. Yeah,
right. And so if you need a full day, they'll roll those kids into their full day program. But if you only need a half a day, you can do that too, and it's free. And that's the nice thing. That is the beauty of that program.
Yeah, very good. Okay, so we covered VPK, and I think we all know what a public school and a private school are, but what about magnet and charter?
Okay, a charter is run usually by like a corporation. It's a business entity. It just happens their business truly is education. A magnet school is going to focus on an area. And usually a charter will pick a certain type of, you're hearing a lot about classical education. All right, that's becoming a big thing in charter schools. A magnet school will maybe focus on the arts. There's some schools I know down in Palm Beach County. They have a huge high school that's just really focuses on the arts. It could be a magnet for technology and science. Magnet schools are selling a certain content area, and you usually have to qualify to get into those schools. And a charter school is, they can choose what curriculum direction they want to take, and they don't have the kind of oversight that a public school will have. And the magnet schools are usually under, with a public school system. So a charter school has a little more leeway, a little more leverage. They also don't have to necessarily adhere to the stringent standards that like my school has to. So, it's just all relative to what environment you want your child to be in. But now, here in Florida, again, I am going to say there are so many options for parents out there that you just have to know what's going to work for my child. And you pick the one that you feel is going to serve and educate your child the best. That's going to be the best opportunity for them. But like I said, a lot of people leave a public school and they're like, oh, we're going to do this, or we're going to homeschool, whatever. That's great. Homeschool children still have to meet state standards. So that's when people say that, I think, I don't know if you know much about homeschooling, and you don't get a break. You know what I mean? Kids are always with you. I mean, they've done more with groups. They've done more with groups now. I know there's offshoots. They do all kinds of fun stuff now. But I mean, that's taken a while to evolve. And I don't know, as a teacher, even I don't know if I would have, I wouldn't have been receptive. But that's how I look at it. I see that's the difference between a charter and a magnet. And they're all of them can have high quality, excellent educations. You just have to know. You do have to do your due diligence and know this is my most precious thing that I'm putting in here. And it's true that that's how I look at all my own too, especially, but I tell my students' parents, and I say, I know I have your most precious gift. I know this is the most important thing. So I never lose sight of that for my 180 days with that child. And I only have 180 days with those children. And, one little girl today, we were doing something and I said, okay, we're going to put this aside. She goes, but I'm not done. And I said, oh, we've got 179 days left. I think we're going to finish it. But to a 6-year-old mind, it's like, no, I want to finish this.
Yep.
Very good.
Awesome.
Well, thank you, Carol, so much for joining us. I know you've got a busy 179 days ahead of you. So yes, absolutely. So best of luck in this new school year. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Maybe at the end of the year, we will have to have you back and see how the year went.
That.
Yes, absolutely.
And congratulations
I'm in.
on starting the summer.
Go right ahead. In May, just before Memorial Day, just get me back on and see if I'm as peppy as I am today. I may sound a little more tired, but I want to hear and give me the update on if you've looked. I'll be reminding you about your VPK. So
we're already looking into it now. Well, and hey, for you listeners, here's another just word of advice. With preschool, they're very, very booked in Florida. So we moved from Winter Garden to Claremont 7 months ago. We're still on a waiting list for a preschool in Claremont. So we're still driving to Winter Garden to put our son in preschool or in daycare.
Good high quality, and that's what you want to look for. You got to find that again, it's your child. I mean, but we and I don't know if you've heard, but there's a pretty significant teacher shortage, and it's been in the news. That's affecting all levels of education, everybody. From a non-school structure to daycare structure to everything. And it is having a far-reaching impact on people and their working. You gotta factor all those things in. So if you've been on a waiting list for that long, that's a really long time.
Yes, indeed. Well, maybe
maybe
we drug our feet a little bit on going to find the new school initially. But once we did and we found it, we've been on a waiting list, I think, for 4 months now. We weren't sure if we were going to get in at the start of the school year. We did not. They decided not to open a new classroom, which I'm sure goes back to the teacher shortage you mentioned.
They don't have people.
But
and they don't want to jam too many. And good for them. They don't want to overcrowd a classroom. And I have to commend that. I'm sorry that you're on the waiting list. No. But as a teacher, I know when you don't jam all these kids in, you cannot do that. So I applaud them for making that. And that's a hard decision for them.
Yeah, but it definitely taught us our lesson on VPK, so we are already looking into that now. Good.
And you'll find something, I'm sure, and that'll be great. It's been a pleasure. I'm really happy about this. But in May, I want to get back to me before Memorial Day, and I will come back, and I may not be quite as lively.
All right. Well, you got it, and thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Have a nice evening. Good luck.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, guys, now we want to hear from you. You can reach us on our Moving to Florida show hotline by dropping a voicemail or texting us to 407-900-5859 or drop us a DM on Facebook or Instagram at Moving to Florida Show. And for Twitter, our handle is at Moving to FL Show. If you'd like to connect with us, if you have any questions or if you need a realtor here in Florida, you can reach us at movingtofloridashow@gmail.com. Be sure to subscribe to the show if you like our content so that it would automatically download to your device and get you one step closer to moving to Florida.